Have you seen the buzz over the new way to make eclipse cards? I started seeing cards with popped up slats on Facebook and thought I just have to get those dies and try it. But the dies are very hard to find in stock. And when I did finally get them, there was a learning curve which I will save you from as I share many cards made with the new ways to eclipse in this video. Hello and welcome to Karen's Creative Cards on YouTube. I am Karen Hashik and I've always been fascinated by the eclipse look on my cards with the background pattern continuing onto raised images. It started with alphabet dies, and I have continued to use the technique through the years with shadow dies and sentiment dies. Recently, I saw much excitement over cards being posted by Eileen Walters and others with dies like this that Eileen sells on eBay out of the UK. And once they finally arrived, I had a play, and I was disappointed in the first few cards I made. Now, some people, including Eileen, just put raised strips around the edge, and it looks fine, but I wanted to raise the whole strips. And what I was finding was this foam adhesive strips that I have are 1/8 of an inch wide, and so are the slats. So it was almost impossible to put them underneath and not have them show. If you tried just little pieces, some were up and some were down. Now this card still looks pretty. I did foiled sheets from Tailored Expressions to make this one. But I'll show you the issues that I have had. I was trying to use 2 pieces of pattern paper. So you always start with 2 identical images the same size. Now they can be stamped, or they can be designer paper or printed from a computer. So I had gotten some pretty paper and I was trying it, and you just can see, you know, I wanted to have the strips go all the way, but that wasn't working at all. You could really see them when you did that. But even if you just used little pieces, some of it went up, some of them was down, and you could see them. So here's another example of pretty paper. I just tried little pieces, but again, it's not even. I just wasn't happy with the look, and some of them do show. Then I thought, well, let's just make it flat. And this doesn't look bad, but it's nowhere near as effective as if you raise those slats that you want to have that eclipse look. You can also try just stencils. I did 2 identical stencils on this one using the square slatted die, but I know maybe I'm being picky, and maybe that looks perfectly fine to you, but I really wanted the slats to be evenly raised the whole thing. Now, another thing you can do is try other dies that are in your stash. So you should go through your dies that, as I did for these cards, and the look can be achieved with most any layering dies, like these that I had from Gina Marie Designs, and it was like a tag shape, and you do like every other one. And again, you start with 2 pieces of paper identical, and you cut the top one, and then you can put it on, and because these were a little thicker, you really don't see those foam strips there. So I like how that one turned out. Here's another one I did with new triangle dies I had gotten from Ellen Hudson. So starting with 2 pieces of paper and then raising them, and what you do is you cut like every other one out, and you make those strips. Now the difference between these and the original dies that I showed you is you can definitely do it, but you have to do the cutting and the placement to try to get those perfect in there, which can be a little tricky. You can even use a fence. I had this new fence die from Fabulous Folded Cards at Hot Off Press, and I do like how that looks, and each one of these were easy to raise because they were thicker. So this fence is the eclipse look over another piece of paper. And here's one more I did. If you have dies like this is from Tailored Expressions, where they're just long slotted dies. Again, you could choose to die cut those with a space in between, and then this is one more of those tag dies, and that I like that look. But I was determined, I really was determined to figure out how can I get really good eclipse cards with these. And so I'm going to show you. I did figure it out. I was really happy with how this one turned out. The slats are all evenly raised the whole way. And obviously we started with 2 pieces of paper the same. This is the eclipse look with a layered sentiment die. And again, I've always liked that look too. But here, these slats are raised, each one of them. And I thought that one turned out beautiful. And here's another one I did with the long slatted die. And these are both from that Eileen Walters out of eBay. Now they're all out of the UK. There's another company that's doing it too, and that's out of the UK, and they have different shapes, but everybody's been pretty much sold out, so you have to be very patient. But this is another one that I made that I was really happy, and I will show you what I discovered to do that. So I tried just about everything. I tried cutting these in half, and that was almost impossible. But then I remembered that I had these foam sheets, so they weren't already cut. Now these are from Stamps of Life, but they're available in lots of places. I have some links in the description box to the products that I've used, and of course information on all the cards that I shared. So this is what I found out that I could do. So I am going to take a ruler, and I am going to mark with a pen, or I had one out here, I thought. Maybe not. Yeah, okay. Mark with a pen 1/8 of an inch. Now you could try to mark the 1/16, but that's just too tiny for me, okay? So I marked the 1/8 on both the top and the bottom here. And then if you just take a long scissors, and then you cut that in half. So really what you're doing is you're cutting like about 1/16. So you've got that mark, so start the half, and you're just going to cut a strip, and it's going to be really skinny, but it's the size that you need to work. So there's a very skinny strip, and then I'm going to go to the line that I drew, and I'm going to cut one more. So you want them pretty skinny. Okay, so there's a couple that I'm going to use. And then I've cut a couple more in advance, which are kind of sticking together, but I'll get them out. And I'm going to make a Halloween card. But first, I'm going to show you. Oh, there they are. Needed to find my dies. So I am going to die cut the slats in here. Now my die cutting machine is off the camera, and I can't move it where you can see it. But I am going to put these longer slatted dies down. Now if you can, I think I can, if you can put them sideways rather than straight. That was one thing that was recommended. So I'm going to try it this way and see if I can. Because sometimes when you cut these dies, they kind of stretch the paper a little bit. So I'm going to run it through. think that's cut through. So we have our slats cut, and we don't have a lot of stretching of the paper. Then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to take these really skinny pieces that I have cut and put them on the slots pieces. So you can see, you can't see them. They're skinny enough that you can't see them, but they're going to raise it up equally. And I was just really happy with how these turn out once I started doing it that way. I noticed a slightly fatter area. See, we can see that big, whoops, because I cut that one a little fat. Now I'm going to try to move it a little bit, but if not, I may have to trim that. Yeah, I can see that one. So you can see if they get a little bit fat, if they're closer to the 1/8 inch, you're going to be able to see that. So I think what I will do, I thought I had some other skinnier ones already cut in the package. In the package I had saved some smaller ones that I had cut. So I'm going to use one of those rather than that one that was too fat. Has to be very skinny, like 1/16 of an inch. Sometimes it's so skinny it's hard to figure out which side has the adhesive removed already. I guess I just needed 4. I prefer to use these strips, but as you could see, they were too fat to use behind the slots. So I'm going to use this for the rest. Now you want to have one piece that is going to be on the outside of both of these, the slotted areas. And then you want to have one around the sides. So you do end up with using a lot of these. I've put a link in the description box to a place on Amazon that I found them very cheap. But of course they're available in many places. And I use them all the time. I mean, I use them a lot because I use them in shaker cards too. I have them on hand at all times. And then I'm just going to put one across that area. And then I'm going to lay this and see that it's pretty much raised in all places. I can see a little bit of an area down on this one that was showing. And I would prefer that none of it show. And then we're just going to do the fun part, and that's take the strips off of each one of these, which can be the hardest part, right? Take the covers off. Sometimes I can sit and struggle for a very long time. And I'm trying not to do that on camera. But usually if I hold it down with a pokey and then get it started, I can get the covers off. And now each one of these, to take the covers off, which are very, very skinny. Okay, I think I got them all. They like to stick. Okay, so what I like to do is use a combination of glue and these sticky strips. And the reason I do is because once these grab, they're very difficult to move. But if I put a little bit of liquid glue on, the ones at least on the top, then I can have a little maneuverability until I can get it perfect, hopefully. So it's just something I've decided that I've learned. Sometimes you need a combination of several adhesives. So I'm going to stand up and try to get that lined up perfectly, hopefully. If you notice that you can see any of that bottom paper back there, you can trim that off easily. But can you see that those are perfectly straight but still raised? And so I think that effect of that is just amazing, right? And like I said, I've always been fascinated with the eclipse look. Now I can kind of see that back one a little bit here, and it's really easy just to trim off. So I am going to do that. Can I see it here too? Just a little. That back one doesn't matter. But if you can see any of it sticking out, it's really easy just to trim it. So I'm going to add this to the front of a craft 5x7 card. Get that lined up with a good border. Then I know I have a witch that is a easy 3D raised image that I might use. I know I want a sentiment. I have spooky greetings, and then I had some bats that I might use. But I think I also want the witch. So let's decide where we'll put those two on. Oop. Found some bigger bats. Okay, so spooky greetings. I don't have a lot of this pattern paper that's identical in 2 sheets, and when I found this one it just made me think of Halloween, so I decided to go ahead and make an early Halloween card. I have friends and family I mail them to, so I think this is going to be fun. We'll put one of the bigger bats right by the moon, but not cover up the slatted eclipse look. I think that's good. See how perfect these slats are and how the pattern flows from the background through them? I love this look, as you can see from the amount of cards that I made in just a few days. There's another company out of the UK that has different shaped slatted dies, but they've been on back order for a very long time due to the demand. If I can finally get some, I'll share some more cards in another video. I hope my cards inspire you to give some of these ideas and products a try, and then send some handmade joy out into our world.